agenda for today. Scanning and enumeration we are going to talk about. We are going to talk about exploiting common vulnerabilities. Then we are going to talk about Metasploit Framework, right? What it is, how it really looks like. We will be performing a hack as well. Okay. And then we are doing post-exploitation techniques. Okay. Right. So these are things we'll be talking about. Right. And today there is going to be theory as well as today we are going to talk about the hands-on thing as well. Fine. Okay. So let's get started. Fine. Okay. The first topic we have in place. The first time topic we have in place today is what is scanning, right? Okay. So before jumping into the scanning part, you need to understand and the hacking in yesterday, the first step I told you about is to gather as much information about a particular person in place. Fine. Which the tool was, one of the tool is OSINT. It's not the only tool we have in place. Okay. We have multiple tools and OSINT is one of them. And just a quick recap about the OSINT, that it is a tool which what it does is that it using it we can find out a image, right? Particularly image which is publicly available. That really helps, right? That's the goal of the OSINT is. And yesterday I given shown you two particular images in place, and using OSINT we were able to find out who is the actual owner of that particular that particular images and where. Fine. That's the thing. That's all about this OSINT part. Okay, so now in the next step of the hacking, when we have collected multiple information about a subject, or I would say about a target, then comes the scanning part. Fine. In scanning, what we do, we scan majorly the ports that are open. Okay. And if there is an unnecessary port open, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to try my best to hack into it. Right. That's the thing. I'm going to find out the vulnerability in the operating system. That is also how I'm able to know, through the scanning. I'm able to find out multiple other things about my target. Okay, that's what we have in place. So this is the scanning part, where we scan the network of our target, or we scan his system to gather as much information about that particular target machine, which operating system he is using. Okay, which kind of device it is, right? Okay, multiple things you can gather it. When you do the scanning part today, when I will be doing the hacking, I will be showing an actual hacking attempt in Windows XP part. So there you can see that we can gather multiple things about a particular systems, like the ports that are open. Okay, the ports that are open, you can gather about the particular target in place. And what you can also do is that you can also get the operating system of the target, whether he is using Linux, whether he is using Mac or Windows, right? And which particular version of the Windows, that kind of thing. Okay, there is no machine in the world which is hack proof. Okay, if there is a machine, if there is a system in place, whether it's a Linux, Mac or Windows, whichever it is, it's definitely for sure prone to attacks, right? That's why on regular basis these Microsoft, what they do is that they keep on providing you within a day or two the updates, right? The security patches. Fine, that's the thing. So when you scan your particular target, you gather the port information, that which kind of port are open. You gather information about the operating system and these kind of stuff in place. Okay, perfect. So let's move ahead. Now we are going to talk about the type of scanning part, right? The first one is, okay, the first one is that Harlan, in scanning, what we do is that we scan through the network of the particular system of the target machine and able to figure it out or gather information as much as we can about it. Let's say, for example, if I scan through your particular network, I will be able to find out your operating system, the ports that are open, your location, and multiple other things about your particular system in place. That is what we achieve in scanning. So basically, there are two type of scanning. One is called the active scanning and another one is called the passive scanning in place. Okay, in active scanning, what happens is that you are directly interacting with the target, the hacker. The very important catch word here is you interact with the target directly. Okay, if I just give me a minute and let me just throw it out. Okay, so if this is a particular, you know, hacker in place. Okay, so hacker is, what he's going to do is that he is going to actually go to through the network and try to hack into a system in place directly, right, interacting with the target machine. That is called active scanning. Again, I'm repeating it up. In active scanning, what we do, the hacker himself directly goes and, you know, just communicate or hack into the particular or do interaction with the target machine. That is called active scanning. It is good, right? The possibility that you will be able to hack into someone's else PC is very high. The chances are, I would say, in the active scanning is more than 60%. Fine, but there is some risk for the active scanning as well. Not all the attackers will be performing the active scanning. Why? Because in the active scanning, boss, what is going to happen is that when you're performing the active scanning, definitely for sure, when you will be making a contact with this particular person's PC, in the logs, right, there are logs generated. Logs are the registered. If someone is not aware about the logs part, you can think about it from your school days, that in your classroom there used to be a register where every day there would be attendance, right? In way back, I 5 to 10 years back, that was a thing. Okay, now nowadays even the attendance are taken in the you know, computers and laptops as well. So they used to have maintain a register. In that register, they used to name that Amit, he was present on like 10th of October, then in 10th of September, like this kind of thing. They maintain a kind of a registry. Same happens in the log. In logs, what you do is that no matter, irrespective of your operating system, whether it's Mac, whether it's Linux, whether it's Windows, any version of the Windows 7, Vista, XP, 10, 11, 11 Pro, Office version, any kind of thing, any kind of an operating system, if it is present, even the Linux, Ubuntu, any operating system, definitely for sure in the backends logs are created. So what it means, let's say for example, I am having Windows 10 in from this particular machine which I'm taking the session. Okay, so now what, let's say for example, I try to create a file with the name of hello, or yep, or yeah, with the name of yes, right? Okay, so in the logs in the backend in my system owned by itself, it timestamp would be created or logs would be created that at 10 a.m. Amit created, or this particular user or the admin created yes file in this particular location. This kind of thing would is considered the log. If let's say for example at 11 a.m. same day I deleted that particular file, okay, so the logs would be created that at 11 a.m. who is the owner, who is the user, the root or the admin deleted this particular file at this particular time. Okay, that kind of thing. Or if I moved it from one particular drive, let's say for example from the C drive to the D drive. Okay, if I have the C drive, I moved it the file from the C drive to the D drive. Let's say for example I have a file in place, and in that particular file I'm having Harry Potter movie. So I want, you know, boss, I am today free, and what I need to do is that I need to just little bit organize my system in place. Okay, so I just drag and just move my particular file from C drive to D drive. Again, in the backend, the logs would be created that the admin, who is the particular person, because see, in the Windows, we have multiple users as well, right? As well as in Linux, as well as in the Mac. So what really happened in the Windows? In the backend, it will be saying that at this particular moment in time, 11 a.m., 11 p.m., 12 p.m., whatever the time duration it is, and at that particular time the admin move the file from this C drive, this to this location, exact location, to the D drive, this location, right? Any kind of a modification you do in your particular systems, logs are created. Okay, and remember, these logs are very very important thing, boss, for the forensic guys. In the cyber security, we have a team of specialized individual who are master in understanding and finding out meaning in these logs. Very very crucial. Okay, they easily able to find out the logs and all this kind of stuff, and it is very crucial. Okay, so these are logs at the end by default are configured. You does not need to go somewhere or click or enable something. It is by default. The moment you have purchased your particular laptop, PC, anything like that, and you open it up, you start your particular system in place, logs at the back end starts to generate by default every other operating system in place. So I was talking about the disadvantage of the active scanning. In the active scanning, if I just erase it up and just again, kind of draw it again. In the active scanning, if this particular hacker is trying to directly hack into this particular person's PC, he's interacting, right? So what is going to happen is that the moment he starts an interaction in his particular system, logs would be created that this user, let's name it U1, this U1 created a file with the name of X. Okay, that kind of thing, and then he deleted some file. Those kind of things would be created in this particular person. And let's say for example his system was compromised, he contacts a forensic guys comes and sees his laptop, and they will be looking for his in his logs, and he will be easily able to find out the IP address, the MAC address of this hacker, and this hacker is in big trouble for sure. That's the biggest advantage of the active scanning in place, right? Most of the attackers use it, but there are some disadvantage as well. So in that particular scenario, if they want to hide their IP address, their MAC address in that kind of a scenario, what they generally do is that they kind of, if they want to hide out their IP address and a MAC address, they kind of spoof their IP address and a MAC address. They give wrong IP address and a MAC address. So even if you try to follow those IP address and the MAC address, there is a huge advantage. There's a huge possibility, I would say, for the law enforcement agency that they will never able to track down the attackers, because that's for sure. We as the hackers, even if we are good hackers, ethical one, we are definitely for sure aware about that when you are trying to hack into a system in place, do not use your actual MAC address or your IP address. Otherwise, you are definitely for sure will be in huge trouble for. Okay, that's the thing. And definitely for sure, that's also the case that the bad attacker also remembers. They do not use their actual IP address or the MAC address. They use the fake IP address and the MAC address. Okay, perfect. That's called the active scanning. We actively engage, we actively interact with the target machine. Fine. Okay. So here I have this particular machine in place, Kali, right? And I have another machine in place which is called this Metasploitable 2. This is also a machine where we practice a hacking. It is for particularly for the beginners. So what I'm going to do is that Kali Linux is a particular machine, right, guys, which is used by the attackers. Okay, but you know what? With the VPN part is boss. If you use these VPNs, which are provided by multiple organization, what really happens is that, let's say, for example, in India particularly, the central government has made a rule that all the VPN providers who are working in India, they will keep the record of their users for 5 years. Okay, so at that particular point in time, I do not think that VPN is now so much safe. Okay, either you create your own VPN, that's for sure. That's a good thing idea. But if you use a VPN of any sort of a providers, these Nord VPN, all this kind of a stuff, definitely for sure they will be maintaining a database for 5 years, and whenever the government asks, they will be submitting it for sure. Now comes the passive scanning. Yep. Okay, now let's talk about the passive scanning in place. Right, if you, let's say for example, the question with the VPN provider is that if, let's say for example, a VPN provider has asked, definitely for sure, to work in India, you have to ask for the central government, right? Some regulations, some licenses are there, you approach that. If that's the case, that's the route you're taking it up, right, legal way, then definitely for sure, if I use that VPN's provider services, the VPN provider is going to keep the database, maintain a database for 5 years, that which particular website I visited and all this kind of stuff in place, and that can be used by the central government, or that can be used by the judiciary as well. Okay, that's the thing. Fine. And if there's an organization which is not operating in India, definitely for sure I can purchase their VPN, but definitely it would be considered illegal because that provider has not purchased the license. Okay, that kind of thing could be there. Okay, so now what really happened in this particular scenario is this. Okay. Yeah. So in passive scanning, guys, the interesting thing is in the passive, what is going to happen is that you do not indirectly interact with the target. Let's say, for example, there is a particular target in place, right? This is a particular target in place. Okay. And this is a particular hacker here, right? And there is a hacker in place, and he hackers want to hack into this particular target. Fine. Okay, perfect. But what if he directly goes and hack into a system in place? There are a lot of complications for that, right? Okay, so that would be considered active hacking. So what he do is that he try to sniff. What if, let's say, for example, if there is a server here, okay, or I would say if there is a server here, and this server and this target are communicating with each other. This particular target is sending some kind of an information to this server, and then the server is responding submit back to it. The hacker would be sitting over the network and sniffing, okay, what is going on, what are the username and password being shared, what are the credentials being shared. Okay, that is called the passive scanning we have in place. Okay, there is a very beautiful two very important tool we have in place in the uh, world of cybersecurity. There are plenty, there are thousands, but two very famous, which one is called by the name of Wireshark, and another tool we have in place, which is called by the name of Burp Suit. Okay, right? Okay, let's get. So in the passive scanning, guys, what is happening is in the passive scanning, you are not directly making a contact with them, right? You're just sitting over the network, and then you're just listening to the conversation that is going on. You're not directly sitting over it. Let's say, for example, if I want to do, yep, exactly. So let's say, for example, the tool for the active scanning would be, I would say, Nmap. Nmap is one of the best tool freely available. You does not need to pay a single money for that active scanning. Okay. And for the passive scanning, there's a tool which is called by the name of Wireshark and Burpsuit. Burpsuit, if you want to go and use all its capability, you have to actually purchase Bubsuit Pro. Wireshark is free, okay? And the Kali Linux, if you just download it, it's free of cost, already present there, absolutely free of cost. So what really happens is that if, let's say, for example, two individuals are talking, you and your particular friend is talking in and discussing something, sharing of OTP, password, something like that, some sort of a confidential information in place, what can happen in the passive scanning is that I can be just sitting in your particular respective network. Okay, I could be just sitting over the network. Here I would be sitting as an hacker, and whatever the communication that is taking place between those two individuals, I will be listening it up for sure, right? And I will be using it against you guys as well. I will be listening to your conversation, whatever happening here as well. And in the Burf suit, it's a very, very advanced or very important and very famous tool we have in place, which is called by the name of Burp suit. Okay, but it's not free, of course. The community edition is free with some features, but if you want to utilize it full of the resources, then you have to pay for it for sure. Okay, so now what really happened in this particular scenario is that if there is a burp suit, what can happen is that you can modify the message as well. Let's say, for example, this is person A, okay, A, and what really happened, A wants to send a message to the B, right? Okay, I'm sitting over the network, a hackerist network with the net, and he sends the message hello. A sends the message to the B, hello. Jacob, it could be used for both, boss. Right? Scanning leads to the penetration testing. Okay, that's the thing. So A is there. First of all, you scan the network, then only you can find out which vulnerabilities are there, and then you will be able to perform the penetration testing. Right? That's what we have in place. Okay, so we send from A to B a message which is called by the name of hello. Okay, now what is going to happen in this particular scenario is that I will be sitting over the network with my burp suite configure. I will capture that particular message and I would convert it into hey or something else, and it will be, and then I will be forwarding back to the B. Okay, so B would be getting some different message which was not sent by the A sent some different kind of a message, and then what really happened is that B received some different message because in the middle. Okay, so in middle what is going to happen is that it is, I change the particular message in place. That is also possible, and it is called passive scanning because you're not directly interact interacting with the target, right? That is called the passive scanning. There is a thing which is called the best example of the passive scanning. Who are the people who use the passive scanning? That is called APT, Advanced Penetration Test, right? Or persistence threat. The APT is Advanced Persistent Threat. These are the threat or the hackers in place, and what they do is that these APT are sitting over your network, listening to all of your communication, conversation for a longer duration of time. And trust me, it's not possible, it's not easy to just find them out, right? Because they use very advanced technology to hide themselves, right? Okay, that's the thing we have in place. Fine. Okay, that's called the passive scanning part. Okay, now let's move to enumeration. Okay, so in enumeration, what we have in place, guys, in enumeration, we find out more information about our target. Let's say, for example, I scanned the network, okay, and I find out that this is the port that are opened. Fine. Let's say, for example, there is port that is opened right now. It's 80. Port 80 of my target is open. What is I'm going to do is that I'm going to find out that what is the service which is being used in this 8 port number 80, and what is the version of it. Fine. And then I'm going to look for what I'm going to look for what are the exploits available, what are the vulnerabilities available for this particular version, and using those vulnerabilities I will be try to hack into this particular system in place, right, using this particular service of port 80. And that is, guys, what is called by the name of enumeration. Okay, that's what we have in place, which is called by the name of enumeration, where we find more information about a specific port, right? First of all, it is just a one example of it, right? So what we have in place, we have a port which is called by the name of 80. I run a nmap scan, and I figured out, I get that my particular target is using port number 80, right? Or it is open, it's an open state. Okay, then I get to know that he is using some kind of a service in port number 80, and then I find out the version of it. Okay, so see, I am finding out multiple other things about that particular services, right? That's called the enumeration, gathering more information about your target in place, right? That's the thing. Okay, perfect. Then we have type of enumeration. That's called, first type is net BIOS enumeration. Okay, the full form of the net BIOS is network basic input output system, right? So that's kind of a communication between a device on a LAN. Okay, that's what we have in the net BIOS enumeration. Then we have SNMP enumeration. In this, what we do, we gather to find out more information of what are the exploits available for the SNMP. Okay, that's what we do in the SNMP enumeration. And then we have something SMTP enumeration. In SMTP enumeration, as the name itself tells, we will be finding out a lot of things about the SMTP, like what is the version which is being used, okay, and is there any sort of an exploit there is for this particular SMTP. We will be able to figure it out for that for sure. Okay, that is called the SMTP enumeration in place. Okay, and there is another kind of an also enumeration which is called NFS enumeration, which stands for network file system enumeration. In this, what we do, again same thing, this particular file system we have in place, NFS, we will be able to find out which version of a service it is using, version 1, version 2, version 3, or whatever version it is, 0.183, like that we have in place. And then for able to find out, can I hack into this specific version? What are the vulnerabilities available? What are the exploits available in the market? Fine, that things we can use it up for sure. Okay, I will be showing you just a glimpse of it in the coming session as well. Yeah. So the thing is vulnerability. Vulnerability means loopholes, okay, in your particular operating system, in your network, right, in your architecture, in your software. Vulnerability can be anywhere. Okay, that's the thing. So vulnerability means the loophole in your systems, and using these loopholes, what the attacker does is it try to hack into a particular system. That is the vulnerability, the weak point in your particular architecture. Okay, and attackers using this particular vulnerability would be easily, without any concern, without any issue, they will easily hack into your respective system in place. And it would be a very, very bad scenario for your organization, because then what is going to happen is that if there is a vulnerability, hackers exploited that particular vulnerability, have hacked into a particular system, and then what's going to happen is they are going to steal the data, and then your organization is going to face reputational damage, monetary damage, right? Financial damage, lawsuits are there that will be filed by the clients, and plenty of things. Reputation is gone, right? That's the thing. If an organization faces a hack, so no one wants to work with that organization, right? No one wants to purchase a kind of products, whether it's software, the hardware, phone, computers, desktop. No one wants to perform any kind of, or do any kind of a transaction, or or do not want to do any sort of a business with this organization in place, right? That's what we have in place. So that is what a vulnerability is. It's a weak point in your system in place. Okay, and remember, it's absolutely a straight lie that there is no organization in the world which is absolutely vulnerability proof. Every system in the field of cybersecurity, it's the first state taught to us that there is nothing which is hack proof. Okay, it means there is no system in the world which do not have a vulnerability. Okay, there, let's say for example, there is a system in place which right now is secure. It does not currently has any sort of a vulnerability, but doesn't means that in 2 days or in upcoming days no vulnerability can be found into it. Okay, that's for sure. Fine. So every system has a vulnerability, that's you have to keep in mind, and you have to be prepared for that as well. If there is a vulnerability, attack is exploited up, how you're going to do it, right? Okay, how you're going to react to it. So for that, we have in the cybersecurity something which is called by the name of incident response team. Fine. Okay. So this is what a vulnerability is all about. Now let's talk about, guys, type of vulnerability we have in place. Okay. The first kind of vulnerability we have in is the software vulnerability. Okay. So vulnerability in your software. Fine. Okay. Right. So first kind of vulnerability inside of subcategory of software vulnerability is, which is called by the name of SQL injection. Fine. In SQL injection, guys, what really happens? SQL, which stands for structure query language, and in the SQL, what is going to happen is that you are going to insert a piece of a malicious SQL code in your respective SQL, right? And it is going to for sure create a lot of problems for you. Then using this particular SQL injection, what you can do is that, yeah. So in SQL injection, what you can do is that using the particular SQL injection, guys, you can extract a lot of information from the SQL structure query language, right? The database. So let's say, for example, this is the database that I have in place. Fine. Okay. Now what is going to happen is that this is the hacker which is sitting, right? Okay, now this hacker, what kind of action he performs is that this hacker is going to give some malicious, not a good, right, but a malicious query. Okay. Okay, so hackers are there, and hackers, what they are going to do is that they are going to inject malicious queries, SQL, malicious SQL queries to this particular database in place, right? And then what is going to happen is that database is not be able to find out any kind of an issue, or would not be able to resolve any kind of a thing. And then what will happen, or the database would not be able to find out that this particular request that you're going to get. Fine. Okay, so what is going to happen is that this particular database would not be able to find out that this request is malicious. So what is going to happen? He is going to reply back, and then the hacker would be getting a lot of information from this particular database, and it could be a very, very, disastrous thing for an organization. No organization in the world want this kind of a scenario in place. Okay, that's what we have in place. So this is what we called the SQL injection, structure query language injection, where you have SQL for managing the database, right? And what you do is that instead of saying the SQL that you boss, Okay, wait a minute, let me just explain and make it much more simpler for you guys. If you someone is not familiar with the SQL part, let's say for example SQL is like a middleman you have in place. This is a hacker sitting over the internet, and this is a SQL you have. Okay, and this is a database, right? SQL is not the database. SQL is what? SQL is there for managing the database, right? Okay, so this particular person, and what really happens normally, let's say for example, a normal human being, let's say a client is there, he goes to the data SQL and gives a command to the SQL that the SQL go and create a table in the database. SQL will be going there and creating a database. That's the thing. Then the client goes to the SQL, that SQL give me all the information about this particular database, that how many people are there and what are their occupation, right, from the database. So he will be fetching up from the database and providing it to you like a middleman in between. So hacker can, what they can do is that using the same technique, hackers would be sending malicious requests to the SQL, right? That provide me all the information about the database. SQL will be going there, and then at the end of the day, providing all the information to the database, to the hacker. And every piece of information, critical information which was present in the database, like the name of the person, right, the phone numbers, email address, right, as well as the physical address as well, all these things would be revealed to the hacker, and that is not a good thing. So what is going to happen is that that is what really happened in the SQL injection. So there are multiple methodologies which we make sure that the SQL injection is, it's do not work. Okay, that's completely a different thing. But this is how actually SQL injection work. SQL is a middleman who manages the database. Okay. So if you send a malicious request to the SQL, right? That, let's say for example, another case could be for the SQL injection could be like there is a hospital in place. Okay, and hospital has a database for sure where the patient, their contact number, right, and their bills and all these kind of things are there. Then there is an SQL for maintaining it up for sure, right? Structure query language. And there is a hacker. So what is going to do is that hacker is going to send a malicious request to the SQL. That what is a malicious request? That go SQL and delete all the database, every kind of information about every every patient, right, their contact number, their details, their address, every sort of an information that you have in your particular system, go and delete it out. SQL will be going blindly and just start to delete out all the thing in the database, and it would be a catastrophe, right? Because then it would be a very big problem for the organization, right? For the doctors, for the medical fraternity, right, for the patients, their relative as well, right? That could be a thing. So that could be the, the extent of the SQL injection is fine. Okay, then we have something which is called the cross-site scripting. In cross-site scripting, guys, you can see that as is in this particular diagram in place. This is the attacker we have in place. Okay, an attacker, script infected links sent to a victim. Okay, and then this is a victim, particular person who is going to be compromised. The victim clicks on the link and requests a legitimate website. Victims browse, upload legitimate website, but also malicious script. It means it is being redirected to this particular script in place, this website. Okay, and then what it's going to do, any kind of an information, transaction, anything he does in this particular website would be sent it to this particular attacker in place. That is something which is called cross-site scripting we have in place. Okay, then another kind of an attack we have in place, which is called by the name of which is called by the name of authentication bypass. In authentication bypass, authentication means to verify an individual who he say he is. Let's say, for example, in the ATMs, right, particularly in India, you have two things for the ATM part, right? One is the card you have in place, and another one you have in place, which is called by the name of PIN, the 4-digit or 5-digit PIN you have in place, the card, right? Why it is so? For the authentication purpose. Okay, the card and the PIN for what? For the authentication purposes, that you can authenticate yourself, that who you say you are. Fine, that's the thing. So there are cases where this authentication mechanism are bypassed. One of the best example is by the brute force attack we have in place, right? That is something which is called by the name of authentication bypass. Then comes the 0-day vulnerability. In 0-day vulnerability, guys, what is going to happen is that in 0-day vulnerability, the developer by itself has no idea that there is a kind of some sort of a vulnerability present in his system. That is something which is called by the name of 0-day vulnerability. Let's say, for example, I just give you a real life example of a 0-day vulnerability. In the 0-day vulnerability, what really happens is that, let's say, for example, I'm a developer. Okay, I'm a developer in place. Now, what really happened? This particular developer, right, is creating a code or an application. Fine, perfect. Or let's say, for example, it's a game or an application, something like that, and now it has published. Thousands of people are going to the Play Store, right, and they are downloading it up. Okay, and they are purchasing it and they're downloading it and they're using it, they're loving it up. Okay, now what really happened is that this particular application, there is a vulnerability which can be used by the attackers to hack into this particular application, right, and then steal the data, they steal the credentials and steal multiple information, critical information, crucial information of the client, right, who is using this particular application in place. Okay, so when there is a vulnerability, guys, remember, when there is a vulnerability, and even if the in an application, if there is a vulnerability in an application and even the developer of that particular application is not aware about the vulnerability, that is called 0-day vulnerability. When even the developer, let's say for example, if I'm a developer of a game and I'm having absolutely no idea that there is some kind of a vulnerability present in my particular application, in my system in place, that is something which is called by the name of 0-day vulnerability. Okay, software part, software vulnerability, then it comes the hardware vulnerability in place. Okay, so let's talk about it. To be very frank with you, catching up a hardware vulnerability or a hardware attack is not easy. Okay, it's very tricky, very tricky, right? Okay, the first kind of an attack, first kind of vulnerability in the hardware vulnerability is supply chain attack we have in place, right? This comes under the hardware vulnerability, the supply chain attack. Okay, so what really happens in the supply chain attack? If I make this particular diagram easy for you, so let's say for example, this is a particular organization which is called by the name of H, right? And what this particular organization H does, it provides, it kinds of assembles laptop. Okay, but it has to rely on this organization X for motherboard. Okay, H creates everything, every component, everything, but it has to rely upon this X for creation of what? For the motherboard. Okay, and in the motherboard there is specific circuits which this X has to rely on Y. So this is what supply chain. Y will creating some specific transistors which will be used to create the motherboard which this X will create, and then this X will be shipping those motherboards to the H, and H will be assembling that motherboard, the RAM, processor, screen, all these things, and then doing the advertisement, marketing, and then launching that particular specific product into that particular world, right? That's what we have in place. So this is what this is called, this normally a supply chain. Okay, if any of these three people are independent in each other, they are dependent on each other. Okay, so now let's say for example this X is there and that particular X faces an attack, right? Okay, so this X faces a attack. There is an attack that happens in this particular X in place, and now all the motherboards this X manufactures is infected with a virus. Okay, that's a very dangerous situation. So let's say for example this X create 100 of motherboards in a day. So those all the motherboards would be infected with a certain kind of virus in place. Fine, that's the thing. And now that those motherboards are shipped to this H, where this H will use this infected motherboard which he is not aware about. Okay, because most of the time, to be very frank with you, most of the time even the organization by themselves are not aware that their system has been compromised. There was a case, right, a very big organization, I'm not taking a name of it, but very big or corporate organization, and their systems were compromised, and the hackers were in their systems for more than a year. Okay, can you imagine that there is a billion-dollar organization? Okay, and that particular organization systems were all hacked, their employee systems were hacked, and the hackers were sitting in their servers for 1 year. Okay, and then there was some third party that find out that, okay sir, your systems are compromised, please look into it, and then they do start an investigation, and they figured out that, okay, there is a kind of an hackers, a group of hackers who are sitting in the network, right, and they're sitting in the servers, and they are just spoofing, listening to all the conversation, everything that is fed into the private servers. That was a very dangerous situation, boss. It can be done to anyone in place. Okay, that's what we have in place. So let's say, for example, this X gets compromised with a very sophisticated virus, and now all these motherboards are compromised. Fine. Okay, now let's say, for example, in a day it manufactures 100 of, okay, system in place. I would say motherboards specifically, and now all those motherboards would be, you know, infected. And now what is going to happen is those motherboards would be shipped to this particular H, and H, what it does, it assembles it up. Okay, fine, that's the thing. So supply chain attack happens in the hardware part. Okay, it's not the thing with of the software, but mostly of the hardware we talk about. Okay, and mostly it attacks the supply chain, not one individual, but multiple people who are connected to each other. Okay, they rely upon each other. That's what we call the supply chain attack. Okay, infecting a one system, this system in this organization is compromised, and now this virus would be spreading into this particular system in place. This is also compromised, right? Then there would be some client who is be accessing and using this particular laptop, he will be getting that virus as well, he's also compromised. So just think, compromising one organization in a supply chain, it lead to the spread of the virus, and now let's say, for example, thousands of people are victim of an attack. Okay, which started from this X, spread to the H, and now to the multiple customers across the globe. And definitely for sure, these customers would be also spreading up the virus in the wild, or to the friends. Let's say, for example, this is a particular customer, and this is his friend. Okay, he has not brought this laptop from this organization, from somewhere else he has taken it up, and he sent a file or a folder or share games with him, and now he is also, sharing the virus with him as well. So you can think that just attacking one specific organization, this complete supply chain, what is happening is that all of the people are getting infected. That's something, it's called the supply chain attack, right? And it's, to be very frank, it's next to impossible to catch it. Okay, it's very difficult, boss, to catch it out and to find out the origin of it. Okay, that's we have in place. That's called the supply chain attack. Okay, perfect. Then we have this one, is also, it looks simple, this attack, which is called by the name of USP based attack. Okay, so this attacks looks very simple, guys, but it's very complicated. And I would, trust me, those attacks that are very simple to be, that are very simple, trust me, they are very easy and mostly used by the attackers. Fine. Okay. So this is what this USP based attack is. Let's say, for example, you are going for a walk, okay, early in the morning, right, and let's say for example it's 6 a.m. right in the morning, and you're going for a walk or for a jogging. Okay, and there is, let's say for example, you see a hard disk SSD. Okay, and it's look of very good organization of SanDisk, okay, or Toshiba. These organizations are there which has, kind of decades of experience of building up these good pen drive and hard disk. So SSDs or something, it is just lying there, and you think, and you just pick it up, and you think that okay, it's look very beautiful from the outside, and you just see that it says the label, it is of 2 TB. You say, oh my god, it's an SSD and it's of 2 TB. It could be quite expensive, right? It, from Indian point of view, it's 20,000 Indian rupees. That's a lot of money for an SSD drive. Fine. So you think that why would someone just throw it up here? Okay. And you think that okay, you know what, someone has lost it and I hit a jackpot, boss. Okay. And you just grab that particular 2 TB of SSD, and you just put it inside your pocket, and you're happy, and you're saying that okay, you know what, I have, it was like a jackpot for me, and I will be now storing my games, my file, my folder, and it's a win-win situation for me. Okay. Now you come to your house, right? And what is going to happen is that now you attach that particular hard disk or SSD to your respective system in place. The moment you attach it, guys, the virus or malicious software present in that particular SSD would be inserted in your system in place. This is just example of the SSD in place. It could be done with the pen drive as well. That's why the USB based attack I'm specifically talking about, because it's more common for the pen drive. Let's say, for example, another example, I would say I can do it by myself. I can go over the online, right, over the internet. Let's say, for example, Amazon, and very cheap pen drive of 1 or 2 GB, I can just buy them out. Okay, fine, I can do that as well. 5 to 10, let's say for example 15 pen drive I have purchased from the Amazon, and they each one have the capacity of 2 GB in place. Okay, perfect, right? 2 GB is the capacity, and the total number of pen drives are 15. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to my house, and then I'm going to insert malware or any sort of a ransomware. And what is the characteristic of the ransomware is that the moment it makes contact with your data, it encrypts it, and then you have to pay for it, and then it will be decrypted. Okay, that's the thing. So what I did is that I insert some sort of a ransomware, sorry, some sort of a, yeah, sorry, ransomware, some sort of a virus, trojan, something like that in that particular pen drive. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to take that 15 pen drives all infected with the virus, and then I'm going to go near a school where there are kids, right? Particularly they are like in 8th or 9th standards. Okay, they are very fond of these pen drive and all these things. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I am going to throw it out in the public place, wherever, like say their bicycle stand, okay, or near their gate. I'm just going to throw it out. Definitely, for sure, I can guarantee you that you are going to pick, or some kid, two or three are definitely for sure going to pick up those pen drive infected one, and then they will be showing their friend that, you know, see, this is a pen drive that I have got, and that their friend would be looking also as well. So 5 to 6 people, students, kids would be, particularly from a school, minors I would say, would be picking up those pen drive infected one. And then in a very, you know, they will be very interesting, because at the time when I was okay in school, and I have also see, I have gone through this particular phase as well. I have found a particular pen drive, right, uh, in my school, right? And I was very happy with it, that, you know, now I'm going to show off this video with my friends, with my buddies, that this is a thing that I have found out, and I'm going to upload games, movies into it, and I'm going to share with my best friend only, and I'm not going to share with anyone else. This kind of mentality a kid has, right? He's not aware about the cybersecurity consequences what can happen. So what he does is that he goes to his house, he just insert it to his particular system in place, and then what is going to, the moment he attach it, his system gets, you know, compromised. And now your system is compromised, and guys, what I can do is that now through that compromised system, I can open his camera, and I can see what that particular kid looks like. Okay, it can be completely his live everything that is going on is in his room. I can see that, right? What kind of things he's studying, who is he's talking to, all these kind of things. And then I can follow that particular kid as well. This kind of thing happens in the dark web as well, right? Where they go behind not the adults, but behind the minors. Okay, so that's also very disturbing as well when you study those reports, that small kids are there, and the attackers, these black attackers, are behind the kid as well. And then they, uh, they definitely for sure then collect these kind of an information about the kids and then send it to the parents, and definitely for sure ask some sort of a ransomware from that particular parents as well. That's kind of thing we have in place. Okay, so it's a very nasty market, in the black market we have in place. Okay, so yep. So so what is the precaution for it? The precaution is that teach your kids or your clients or your particular people or the employees in your organization, if there is any kind of a storage device, CD, pen drive, hard disk, HDD, SSD, anything lying there in and it's not verified, just pick it up, throw in the dustbin. That's it. Do not take it, do not attach to it any device. Okay, sometime even the virus would be uploaded to your system, it will be just sitting in your system, which is called by the name of logic bomb. We have a virus which is specifically called by the name of logic bomb, and the characteristic property of a logic bomb is that, boss, I will be inserting that logic bomb in your system today, and I will be configuring in such a way that after 30 days execute this particular code and encrypt everything in his hard disk. Okay, and after 30 days, when the 30 days get over, suddenly one day you will get a message in your particular screen that your hard disk has been encrypted, or your system has been hacked. Send this much of a bitcoin to this particular website. Okay, and this. Okay, that kind of thing you are going to happen. So how do we know if that system is being compromised? That there are multiple tools we have for that as well. We can under first, very important is the logs. We can see the logs, right? That the system is being compromised. Okay, another thing we can look for how the system is being compromised, that this utilization, even let's say for example if you have opened up nothing in your system. Okay, I'm particularly a window user, so I open my window, and my window there is a taskbar, right, where you can see the performance, your RAM utilization, the CPU utilization. So what, let's say for example I have not opened up any software, any application. I open my task manager and I see that my resources utilization is off the roof, right? It's 90% CPU utilization, even if I'm not utilizing any kind of application, something like that. Okay, so using that thing I get to an idea that my system is being compromised. Someone is in my system who is utilizing my resources. Okay, and then there is something which is multiple tools we use for deep analysis. Fine, that's a completely different thing in the digital world. In digital forensic we have in place. Okay, so remember, never use unknown devices in place, right? This is very common. It's not with the kid as well, it's for the adult as well. I can just go to the office, nearby office, and specifically I'm concerned about a sales or a marketing department where they are not aware about these kind of thing in place, and throw these 15, 20 infected by near a parking lot, right? Definitely for sure someone is going to pick it for, and the moment he picks up, that particular organization system is compromised, and now I can spread the virus from his system to the rest of the system in place. That's the thing with USB based attack in place. Okay, okay. The first thing, in the network vulnerability, we have something which is called by the name of open ports. As I told you, if you use a tool which is called by the name of Nmap, which is absolutely free of cost, if you use Kali Linux, it's Nmap is there for sure for. Okay, so if you use this Nmap, okay, this is very famous and free of cost. So, and you does not need to pay a single penny for it. So if you use this thing tool, what you get the open ports. Fine. Okay, so open port is good, right? The port is open, it is for communication, perfect. But sometimes what really happens is that the port is unnecessary ports are open. Okay, let's say for example there are 15 ports that are open in your system, but requirement is only two, right? The additional that you're seeing, right, the 13 additional ports that are open is useless, and those useless open ports, open channel, you can say, I can use them and try to hack into your particular system in place. Fine, that's what we have been with the open port in place. Fine, so that's why what you need to do is that you need to on a regular basis monitor your system and find out, is there any kind of an open system or open ports, unnecessary open ports. Open ports are definitely for sure critical, important for sure, but there should be, you should be aware about it, right? Unnecessary open port should not be there. Okay, so if there is an unnecessary open port is present there, get rid of it, okay, as soon as possible. Then we have something which is called the packet sniffing, right? That's also come into the network vulnerability part. In the packet sniffing part, as I told you, as in the image by itself, as it's been explained, that this is the sender we have in place, right? Who is sending a message, hello or anything like that. And this is the receiver who is going to receive that particular message in place. And this is a sniffer. Who is sniffer is he is going to sniff the particular message in place. He's going to see what this two people are communicating with each other, right? That's what we have in place. So what are the communication that is happening here? That's going to happen, right? So whatever the message that you are using, it should be encrypted, fine, or you should use something which is called, right, they can it should be encrypted with some good keys which cannot be easily compromised, fine. Okay, that's the thing we have in the packet sniffing. So it sniffs the packet, it just listens to the packet, right, and it can do the modification as well, right? Okay, that's what we have in place for packet sniffing. Then we have the physical vulnerabilities, guys. Okay, in physical vulnerabilities is there are some vulnerabilities present physically and we have to get rid of it as well. Okay, that's what happened in the physical vulnerability. So one of the best example of the physical vulnerability is the insider threat. Okay, so insider threat means he's an employee. That's the first thing for sure, right? An employee should be there. Okay, right, as you can see that this particular person you are seeing right now in front of your screen, this one is an employee. Okay, but the okay, so he looks like a normal employee. So why we are calling it, saying him a threat? He's an insider for sure because he's a part of an organization. Perfect. But why we are saying him a threat? Okay, because he has some malicious intent. Okay, there are multiple things can happen here. Sometime a person can be an insider threat, but he is not aware about it. Like he could be doing some kind of an activity would could be resembling like an insider threat. Let's say for example there is an employee or there is a particular person who is just or a junior, right, who was very new to the organization and he is not aware about it. So what he do some kind of a mistake, authentication mistakes, and that leads to reveal of information. He uploads some kind of a critical information over the public domain which should not be done. Okay, so that can also be considered as an insider threat, but that was an unintentional one. That particular person has not done intentionally. The most dangerous are the scenario where a particular person is an insider threat and he is conscious about it. And what are the roles, what are the reason behind a particular employee turning into an insider threat, right? The first is he's not happy with the organization, he's not happy with the the work culture, the politics that is going on, right, all these kind of things. So he's turned into something which is called by the name of very famous word which is used in inside a thread, which is called by the name of disgruntled employee. He's not happy with the organization, he's not happy with the management, and now he wants to take a revenge. And now what really also happens is that I've seen these competitive organization, right, rivalry organizations, he will be reaching to him, or he will say that I will be paying you thousands of dollars, and you what you do is that you just leak out or provide us the sensitive information or the 5-year plan or something like that, sensitive information or the client detail of this particular organization. So this respective employee, disgruntled employee, he's not already not happy with his current organization, and now he's getting a job offer, and the organization is saying that I will be paying you $10,000. That's a huge money for a particular person, and I will be paying you $10,000 or a million, right? And you go and you just take all the client detail, the numbers, their email address, who their the important clients are, and provide it as to us. Okay, and then we will be also providing you a job and a good salary as well, double the salary. So definitely for sure there is huge possibility that most of the people that in that state of mind would be stealing the information and providing it up. Okay, that I have seen. When a particular person is so fed up with his organization, he's not like he's just working for their money, absolutely, for he's not happy with the organization, nothing else. He just haters, co-workers, his juniors, everyone, right? But he has no option in place, right? He cannot quit the job. Okay, so if he gets an offer like this, definitely for sure, in that particular state in mind, most of the people would be accepting it for sure. Okay, that is called the insider threat we have in place. Fine. Okay, someone called the insider threat, a disgruntled employee. Like another one we have in place, a physical security, which is called lack of security control. In the lack of security control, okay, yep. In lack of security control, what we have in security controls are like your CCTV camera, like your barricade, right? Okay, right. So barricades could be there, security camera, gates, right? Like in the offices, if you are in the offices, you have seen that there are gates, there are watchmen that are, or everything is a security control, right? So if there is no security control, let's say for example, imagine an office, your in your office as well, where there is no security gate, there is no particular person to check the ID, there is nothing like that. Okay, so it will be a very dangerous situation for your organization as well, right? Because in that particular scenario there is no way for the authentication. So in that particular scenario, what is going to happen is that a particular person, a malicious person, okay, I can also be that particular malicious person. If an organization is there and that particular organization has absolutely no bodyguards, no guards, no gate, nothing but the authentication, boss, anyone can go there, right? And with the malicious pen drive, I can just put the particular pen drive there, nothing, no biometrics, nothing, no CCTV camera, no control is there. I can go there, go to the server room, and insert my particular pen drive, okay, and start to download every kind of a bit of information present in the servers, okay, over my hard disk or my pen drive. And then what is going to happen is that, boss, I'm going to then encrypt the information as well. Okay, so that could be also a thing. So that also comes under physical security, right? Lack of security control. Okay, that's we have in place. Perfect. Okay, now very interesting thing we have in place. Okay, so now we have something which is called by the name of CVE. Okay, okay. So CVE stands for Common Vulnerability and Exposure. Okay, that's what we have in place. So in CVE, in every particular vulnerability is being provided a CVE number, right? That's what we do have in the CVE part. So it is how it is really looks like. So CVE would be there for sure. Every particular vulnerability would be provided a CV number. So CV would be there, right, identified for each ID, then the year, right, that it was published, 2019, 2020, okay, or something like that. Okay, those kind of things would be provided there. Okay, that's what we have in place, right? So, and what is going to happen? The ongoing 4 or 5 or 7 digit, the numbering we have in place. So that's what called the CVE we have in place, right? Every vulnerability would be provided a CVE number for sure. Fine. Okay, that's it. Perfect. Now we have another thing which is resembles to the CVE, which is called by the name of CVSs, right? This is something which is called by the name of CVSs, right? In CVSs, guys, what we do is that in the CVSs, we categorize this particular, these vulnerabilities, okay, that how dangerous these vulnerabilities could be to an organization. Okay, it stands for Common Vulnerability Scoring System, right? So it's a standardized framework which is used in the cyber security, to assess and quantify the severity of the vulnerability in the computer systems, in the softwares, in the network, right, on multiple other platforms. So we find out the severity, how severe is that particular vulnerability to your respective organization you have in place. That's what we classify in these CVSs. Not every vulnerability would be dangerous. Let's say for example, let's say hypothetically, that's a scenario that there is a pen tester. Okay, he does the penetration testing, he's a legitimate person, and he figured out that there is, boss, there are three vulnerabilities that we have figured out. How much? Three vulnerabilities. Okay, perfect. Are all of the three vulnerabilities dangerous? The answer is no. We have to go for the CVSS, right? So you can see that if the scoring is from 9.0 to 10.0, it is very critical. Okay, so let's say for example, out of this three vulnerability, one vulnerability is critical, another vulnerability is medium, and another vulnerability is low. Fine. So what would be my priority? My first priority, guys, in this particular scenario would be to resolve this critical one. I'm not going to go and spend my money and resources going resolving this low critical vulnerability. That's not going to be the case. Definitely, for sure, it's a vulnerability. It is going to be impacting my organization. Absolutely, that no question asked into that particular thing. It is definitely for sure affecting my organization. But my first priority would be the most critical one. Fine, that's the thing. Then comes the high, and then the medium, and the low. Right? That's what this was the older, and this is the new one we have in place. Fine. So we categorize that particular vulnerability. Fine. Okay. Fine. Okay. That's what we have in the CVSS. Fine, we categorize, we score, we give an up score to the vulnerability. Though higher the score is, the more critical it is and more urgent it is to resolve it out. Okay, critical means the high, it can highly influence or damage your organization. Okay, that's what we have in place in the CVSS. Perfect. Now let's talk about exploiting common vulnerabilities. Okay, that's a vulnerability we have in place, right? So I'm going to exploit that particular vulnerability which is present in Windows XP. Okay, and I'm going to show this particular Metasploit framework to you guys as well. Okay, so let's do that. All right, this is my Kali machine, right? This is how the Kali Linux look like if someone is not familiar with it. Okay, you have to enter the username and password. By default it is there, you can change it as well, but for sure definitely you have to enter a username and a password. There's no option of removing it up. Okay, in the older version, because the new version it's not stable, so I'm not using it up. It's kind of an older version. Okay, perfect. So it's loading it up, and then we have this particular Windows XP, right? I'm logging into this particular Windows XP in place. I've logged in. Fine. Joseph, go to the, oh, this classic sound. Encounter a problem that needed. I do not send. I do not send. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so we are just skipping up the metasploitable part. Power it off and get rid of it. Now we are focusing upon the Kali Linux and the Windows XP in place. If you want to download this Kali Linux, guys, just go to this Windows or your Google Chrome or Mozilla, whatever you use it, and type Kali Linux, right? And just type the Kali Linux, and then you will be getting this, and it's free of cost. It's absolutely free of cost. Just go there and download it up. Okay. But remember this thing, this particular practical I'm showing inside a VMware workstation, right? It's an hypervisor we have in place. Okay. So in this hypervisor, the benefit of the hypervisor is that because, I just take lot of session from defensive, offensive side as well. So this is a hypervisor, this is a software, and the benefit is that using this particular software, I can have multiple operating system. I can have Ubuntu, Linux, XP, 7, Vista, and all those this in the same system in place. Okay. So Windows XP is one operating system, Kali Linux another operating system. See, I can use it inside the same system without having multiple operating systems. So that's called virtualization. Okay. And this particular software is called VMware Workstation. It's a paid one. A free one is called by the name of VirtualBox. You can go through it, which is provided by the Oracle, and it's free of cost. Okay, perfect. So this Kali Linux would be acting like what? It would be acting like, okay. So this Kali Linux would be acting like a attacker's point of view, and this Windows XP is a target machine. Okay, so I think we are good with it. The Windows XP is a target, and the Kali Linux is that particular attacker. Okay, let's see that. And remember, attackers mostly use this Kali Linux. Why? Because many tools you have in place. Just let me show that tools to you guys. See, multiple tools we have in place, boss. You does not know need to go anywhere and purchase it. Already comes pre-installed. Fine. Let's say, for example, if there is a database assessment, right? For that, it's SQL Map and SQLite database browser. If I want to crack your password, for password, you can see that there is these many things. There is encrack, there is Hydra, very famous. Okay, and there is, where is that? Okay, John the Reaper should be there. For sniffing, these many we have in place. Then comes the post exploitation. For forensic, see, autopsy, you have very famous for the forensic part. Okay, and these many we have in place, right? See, Metasploitable also you have in place. For Bluetooth attack. Yeah, see, password attack. John the Reaper, very famous one for cracking your particular password. Any password you have in place, it can easily crack it up. That's what we have in place. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm just clicking into this particular terminal. It's opening it up. Let me increase the size of it so you can see it up. Okay, I'm writing sudo su to get the root user admin, right? Into the Kali, and I'm going to clear it out. Remember, this Kali Linux is completely CLI. It finds command line interface. Even if I want to create a file, delete a file, modify a file, move a file from one particular location to another, I have to write a command for that. I cannot do drag and drop. That's not going to happen in the Kali Linux, right? Like in the like the Windows, it's a GUI, right? You have to just drag a particular folder and just drop it. That's it. But this is CLI, boss. You have to write. If you want to delete something, you have to write a command. If you want to make a folder, you have to write a command. If you want to make a file, you have to write a command. Every kind of an action you want to do, whether it's delete, modify, anything, you have to write a command here for sure. Okay, that's what we have. So not going to and Linux is a thing, Kali Linux. So not going to much more detail here because we have a limited duration of this particular session in place. Fine, that's the thing. Otherwise, there are commands. If you go to the internet, type to 5 famous 20 commands of the Kali Linux and start practicing up. Within few days, you will be good with it as well. Okay, that's pretty easy to understand as well. It's normal operating system, but we do not have much of the GUI, graphical user interface, for the interaction. We have much of the CLI. We give the command. We kind of give an instruction in the form of a command in place. Fine. Okay, so let's perform the attack. Right. First of all, that in what I'm going to do is that I'm going to write if config. Okay, now ifconfig is a thing which will be telling my particular IP address, right? This says, guys, my IP address in place, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to just copy it up. Okay, I've copied it, my IP address. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to find out the range. I'm going to do the app scan, right? Okay, app scan, I'm going to perform it up, and this is I'm setting up the range. Okay, if you're not familiar with it, in the networking part we have a concept of the setting up a range. So I'm setting up a range. Okay, and now I'm sending it, giving a command, and now what he did is that in my internal network it has given me these 4 IP in place. Okay, fine. And this is very interesting, very interesting. So these 4 IP is, very important to us. Not all of them are important, right? The IP which is in third place, this 192, 168, 224 and 134 is important to us. Fine. This particular first ID is called by the name of network ID. This is the default gateway that you have in place. This one is your particular target IP of your Windows XP, and this one is your broadcast IP in place. Okay, these are the concepts which are discussed in network part. Okay, that's the thing. So I'm not going to deep into it. So this is the target IP of our target. So we have received it. Okay, now what I'm going to do is that in the hacking, guys, remember the first step is to ping things. So I'm going to ping it up, right? I'm going to ping and just going to copy it up and going to paste it. I'm going to paste it. Perfect. Now I'm going to hit enter, and this is why I'm see I'm getting up a reply. See, I'm getting up a reply, right? Now I just cancel it up in midway, and you can see that 8 packet transmitted, 8 packet received, 0 packet loss. It means that I was able to successfully communicate with my target. This is active scanning because my target is interacting with me as well as he's replying me as well. See, I'm transmitting it 8 packet and I'm receiving the 8 packet, right? So definitely for sure in my target logs would be created that Amit had sent the 8 packets for sure. That's it's the case, right? Okay, right. A lot like with the TTL, you can just find out the operating system of your target as well. Very interesting. Okay, perfect. So with ping, what we do is that we find out whether a particular target is live or not. I have figured out that it's applying back. It means it's live. It's up and running. Live means it's up and running, connect to the internet, and it's turned on. Perfect. It's receiving me. It's sorry. It's yeah. It's receiving, right, and transmitting back, right. So see, 0 packet lost. Perfect, it's fine. Okay, correct. Now what I'm going to do is that now I'm going to open something which is called by the name of Metasploitable framework. Okay, I'm going to my next terminal in place. Again going to increase the size of it so that you can easily see it up. Typing sudo su, typing up the password, clearing it out everything, and going to type. And I would say if you want to do this particular hands-on thing right after this session, after the webinar, at least I would suggest that you should have at least 8 GB of RAM. It's not a requirement, but I, from my own experience, sees that if a particular person has less than 8 GB of a RAM, fine. So what is the thing we have in place? So let's go back to the nmap, right? Correct thing. Yes, Philip, 8 GB of RAM. From my particular experience, I've seen, okay, that if you have an 8 GB of RAM, you are in a comfortable position for this particular thing. Okay, perfect. Otherwise, you are going to face a problem for it. Right. Okay, perfect. Right. So what are the things we have done? We have seen that okay, our system is live and running. The target. We have opened up the Metasploitable. Fine. And then we are going to open up something which is called the nmap. We are going to perform the nmap scan, guys. Very interesting scan, right? In the app nmap scan, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to perform the scan. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, and let me paste up the IP address. Okay, yep, IP address. This is the IP address of my target machine. I'm going to paste it up. Nmap by itself also is a very big thing. Okay, so Iman, no, I have not installed it. In by default in the Kali Linux, it comes. The Nmap and the Metasploitable already comes by default. Okay. So if you can do it, what I can do after the session, you can just install the Kali Linux in one of the hypervisor like the virtual box, and what you can see by yourself as well. All these tools comes pre-installed. You does not need to go and manually install it the map. Okay, that's the thing. That's the beauty of it. That's why the Kali Linux is the favorite operating system which is used by the attackers, because many tools already come pre-installed inside it. Okay, you can do manually as well. That's also an option. You can just go and manually install the software, but most of the tool already comes pre-installed inside it. Okay, multiple. Okay, so this is the thing. Nmap is a tool name which is we are going to use. Hyphen p hyphen is what all the ports, right, which are present there, and hyphen sv means service and the version of the service, and this is all about it, right? So I'm saying to the nmap scan all the ports and tell me what are the ports that are open, the state of it, and then sv service and the version that are present here. Then I'm going to hit enter, and let's wait for it. Kali Linux in itself is an operating system, boss. Okay, and it's used by the pen testers, tester, ethical hackers, people. Okay, free tools are present inside it. You can download your tools manually as well, no issue with that. If there is a tool which is not present in the Kali Linux, most of the time it could be there, right? As you go to the most advanced courses, okay, there are tools like the apt advanced penetration tester, right, network penetration tester. There are tools you will be able to see that does not comes pre-installed in this particular Kali Linux. So what you can do is that you can just manually go there and install it up here. Okay, perfect. So you can see that I get a lot of information about my particular target place. I get that in this particular Windows machine, I get that 135, which is using TCP, port is open. Service it is using MSRPC. Version is Microsoft Windows RPC. Then what I can do, I can find out what are the vulnerabilities present in the Microsoft Windows RPC. Okay, 139 is also see open, which is using NetBIOS SSN, right? Then 445 is open, which is used for Microsoft DNS DS, right? Okay, so these kind of things. And 1025 is also open, right? Which is used by MSRPC. So this is the services and the version of the services, right? And I can see that, okay, it's a Windows system we have in place. Fine, perfect. So these kind of information is a lot of things we have received. But remember, this is as the active scan. We are directly interacting with the target. Fine, this is the thing. Okay, correct, absolutely, Virat. Because I have scanned all the ports, so definitely for sure it's going to take a time. Okay, perfect. You can specify the port as well. There's no need to you every time you need to write down all the ports. You can just provide certain kind of a port. You have that particular flexibility there. Okay, so we have gathered a lot of information about the target, right? Which kind of operating system he is using and all this kind of thing. Okay, If you download RAM, if you download the particular Kali Linux in your particular system right now, so what is going to happen that you have to use the Kali Linux, okay, or you have to make your system dual bootable, okay, that at one kind, at one end, you can boot up the particular Windows XP if you want, Windows 10, Windows 11, and at the end you can set up the, Kali Linux that could also be present there, right? Or if you want to make it life here much easier, that is the virtual box we have in place. First of all, install the virtual box, and then James, SQL injection attack, I would love to, but trust me, it takes a lot of time, boss. Okay, to demonstrate and show that every kind of a thing in there. Okay, perfect. Yes, Michael, we can use VMware, or we can VMware. You have to pay for it, right? For VMware, and but VirtualBox, if you go to the VirtualBox, free of costs. Okay, that's what we also present there. And once you install the VirtualBox, then install the Kali Linux inside the VirtualBox. Okay, okay, let's move ahead. Fine. So these are the information we have received. Now what we're going to do is that now I'm going to figure it out. Okay, so this is the Microsoft thing, and now I'm to go to the Google and find out what are the vulnerabilities that are present in Microsoft XP. Okay, I've done that particular background my search, and now I have figured out that there is a vulnerability which was present in Microsoft XP, which is called by the name of Eternal Blue. So what I'm going to write down, I have opened my this Metasploitable MSF console. I have to type MSF console, this particular code, and this Metasploitable has been opened, right? Okay. Now what I'm going to do in this particular Metasploitable is that I'm going to write it the command search, because it has the database of multiple exploit, this Metasploitable. I'm going to type search Eternal Blue. Let's see it's able to figure it out. Okay, it has given me four, right? Four different exploit related to the Eternal Blue, right? Okay, that's what we have in place here. Okay, perfect. So now what is happening here in this particular scenario is that you can see that I have four particular option here in place, and now what is going to happen is I have to choose one of it. Fine. I've done my particular research background. Otherwise, to be very frank, it will take a lot of time to go in each and every one of it and look and see whether it's every one of it works or not. So I have done my research already, and I get to know that the particular exploit number one works, right? This one works perfectly. It's most stable one, this one. Okay, so I'm going to use it up. Otherwise, you can use any of it. Okay, some works, some does not. But for that, we have to have a lot of times, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to set use first, right? This is from my own experience, boss. Okay, I'm not making a guess. This is all done by myself. Okay, so this is now I'm inside that exploit which I will be using to hack into the particular system in place. Okay, for that I will be saying, and I'm inside it, I will be exploit. I will be saying show options. I click into it, and now I'm configuring that particular missile which I will be launching into that particular Windows XP. Okay, so you can see that there's something which is called by the name of rhost, right? It's empty. It means I have created that particular missile, but I have to set up the destination of this particular missile, this exploit missile, right? So I'm going to type the command set rhost and the IP address. Okay, just forgot the name of the IP address. What was the IP address of my particular target? This is the IP address of my target. I'm to go back to it, to my missile, and I'm going to set it up and see. I've set it up this particular R host, right? Now it's very simple. All you need to do is just type exploit, hit enter, and see. Wait a minute, just give it a minute, and congratulations. We have successfully hacked into our Windows XP. Let's go to the Windows XP. So guys, this is the Windows XP. From anywhere, are you able to see that this particular system has been compromised? It looks very fine, right? This could be your system as well. Just think from a point of view. I have compromised your XP. I am Windows XP, and you can see that it's Metaparator. I will be showing you right now in front of you that I can easily hack into your particular system in place. So this is Windows XP. You can see that everything looks fine, right? You can go to the my computers, you can go to the pictures, everything you can do by yourself, but I have control of your system now. Okay, let's see. For example, I want to see what kind of things you are doing here. Okay, There's a command which is called by the name of screen share. I will type there and streaming. Okay, it's streaming. Let's see. Okay. And I can see from my particular system, no matter, let's say, for example, I'm in some part of the different world and you are in US, Canada, somewhere, I can easily see what kind of thing you are doing. Let's go back to the Windows XP, right? And let's open up a one note. That is accessories. Yeah, let's open it up and let's slide it here. Hello, how are you? That's what the message I have in place. Or I'm doing something, I'm chatting with my friend, I'm open up a Telegram or WhatsApp message, and I'm just talking to them and sharing my critical information. Let's go back to the hacker, and you can see that hacker in live can see what has been displayed over your screen, and he can take the snapshot as well. Okay, multiple things. He can crack your password. Okay, he can get your particular password, what actually a particular password is. And when, let's say, for example, after some time, when he has physically your particular laptop or your device, he can insert a particular password as well. So I can take your passwords, crack them, and figure it out what your particular password is. I can see what you're doing in your screen. See, I can see what you're doing in your screen, right? But when you go to the Windows XP, there is no sign that someone is spying on me. Absolutely no sign, right? I can do whatever I will just delete it out. I can like, hello, this is Amit. Okay, go back to the again to the Kali section. You can see that here you have, hello, this is Amit. I can see that what he's doing in his system in place, the particular my target, right? Absolutely no idea. My target has absolutely no idea that he's been spied on, right? Any kind of transaction, anything you do, that's the thing. And remember, if you guys, it is kind of a situation from my side, okay, that if you have, like, most of the time nowadays people have the professional ones have the laptop in place, okay, and they have definitely, most of the laptops comes with these webcams pre-installed. It's a good thing, okay, fine. uh, okay, I would say go to the Amazon or this website or this e-commerce website and purchase these stickers there, right? And close and put the stickers over your webcam. Because trust me, I shows this. It will take a lot of time for me, but I just show this particular thing in my session as well, in my APTs and my advanced penetration testing as well, where I can hack into your system. I can see your camera. I can do most of the things. Many black hat hacker, what they do is that they sees, you know, they have people changing the clothes, they can record it everything, and they can just blend blackmail you at up as well. Okay, fine. Okay, that's what we have in place. You can do multiple things, Hitesh. Fine. Kester, if the target has an antivirus installed, then it could be a little bit tricky. Then I have to use some other ways for it. Okay. In this particular scenario, the target does not have, antivirus or anything like that. It's pretty simple, straightforward. But if the target has an antivirus, then I will be using some different methodologies. Okay. That that in that particular case, I will be using some different vulnerability. Okay. But still, that I will be still able to hack into a particular system. No issue with that. Shiv Kumar, that will take, the camera hack would be take a lot of time, but that's possible, boss. Right? That's why even this particular session I'm taking from my laptop, it's web camera. It has been hidden. Okay, I do not use my web camera. I've just completely closed it. Okay, there is a sticker over it. Even if someone is able to hack into a particular web camera, he will not be able to do it. Okay, and I have good antivirus installed in my respective system as well. That also increases a lot of security. Okay, okay. So a lot of things we can do it about it. Find a lot of things. Okay, perfect. So this was kind of a demonstration we have. Let's go back to it. Let's go back to the topic we have in place. Okay, let's talk about now. We had already talked about the exploitable part, right? Okay, so that particular demonstration, guys, I have shown you. It's a very small demonstration and it's pretty simple, boss. No antivirus, no lot of hardware, firewall configure, a lot of, right. That's kind of thing. Very simple configuration. But remember, as you progress to the higher courses, to the higher, things, right, different, these attacks becomes much more complicated. Even it could takes 2 3 days as well for me to hack into a particular system, but trust me, it will be worth it. I can steal your system, I can do a lot of things. Okay, I can use your particular laptop for doing you know, illegal things as well. Okay, that's the thing. Perfect. Now let's talk about post-exploitation techniques. After you have compromised systems, now what about it? Now let's talk about the post-exploitation technique. The first we have after the exploitation. It means post-exploitation means after you have hacked into a particular system. Now what are the things the hacker is going to do? The first one is something which is called by the name of privilege escalation. Okay, that's the thing. So if my recommendation from my side is that if you want to protect your privacy, first of all, be wary about your any kind of an information that you put in a public domain, in your Instagram, WhatsApp status, right? Be very cautious about who are those individuals who can see your particular images, files, photos, and all this kind of a thing. Fine, install a good antivirus. Fine, go to the internet, do some kind of a research. If it is a little bit expensive as well, I'm good with it, right? My privacy is much important. I'm good with paying with little bit of extra money if that particular virus or antivirus, sorry, it protects my particular, privacy. Okay, my antivirus, uh, I'm not sponsoring it up, so I'm not saying the name, but I'm saying that my antivirus, it gives me a pop-up when any of the application try to access my microphone as well. So by default it says I've given it a permission. By default my camera and my particular microphone is disabled. Any application, let's say for example this GoToMeeting is right, definitely for sure using up a microphone, so I right now it is showing me micro who is accessing my microphone, only GoToMeeting. I can disable it for sure. Okay, fine, that's what we have in place. Okay, perfect. So install good anti-malware. Uh, right, do not click on any link. If you receive a call from your bank or something like that, do not follow their instruction at any cost. If you are in a doubt, go to your nearest bank branch. Fine, those kind of things. But do not share your credential, your username or a password. Enable multi-factor authentication (MFA). Right, there's a multi-factor authentication tool we have in place, which is called by the name of Google Authenticator. Okay, it's a very famous one. In Android you can easily use it up. Okay, I'm not sure about the iPhone, but in the Android by myself I use it a lot. So you can just you go and download free of cost Google Authenticator. And if you have a Gmail, attach your particular Gmail ID with that Google Authenticator as well. So the next time when you will try to log in inside it, you have to enter your username, password, and that particular code which will be displayed in that particular multi-factor authentication. It increases security of your particular email address a lot. It becomes very difficult to hack into now your particular account. Fine, that's the thing we have in place. Okay, even if the multi-factor authentication, the Google Authenticator is so good, like in the session if I give my username and a password openly, still you guys would not be able to hack into my particular system. Because at the end of the day, because of multi-factor authentication, I have my particular phone and the multi-factor authentication is connected to it. Every 60 minutes the code change, so good the security is. Every 60 minutes. Okay, so whenever I will be entering that 6-digit code, then only I will be provided the access. Otherwise, none of you would be ever, even if you have the password, you will never ever would be able to log into my particular account. Okay, that's the thing. Okay, so now we have talk in place which is called by the name of privilege escalation. Okay, so in privilege escalation, what we have in place, you can see that there are three people we have in place. Okay, one is the hacker. This one, this Mary, is the hacker we have in place, right? Okay, now perfect. So now we have this particular Mary in place, right? This Mary is what? This Mary is the hacker we have. Okay. Now what is going to happen is this Mary is the hacker and she's trying her best to hack into the particular system in place, the organization. Fine. Okay, so first in the privilege escalation, guys, we have two type of attacks: the vertical privilege escalation, and then we have another one which is called by the name of horizontal privilege escalation. Okay, the one we have in place which is called by the name of, see, this is the hacker Mary, and this is the vertical privilege escalation. This is the horizontal privilege escalation that we have in place. Fine. Okay, yeah. In a vertical privilege escalation, this is the Mary's boss, right? He has the credential, he has the username, password, and all these kind of things. Okay, Fine. So in this particular case, what really happens is the Mary try her best to hack into his boss system, okay, to gather many privileges. Privileges means, guys, permissions. And what are the permissions? What are the things you can do and what are the things you cannot do? That is called the privilege, okay, or we can say as the permission, right? That's called the privilege and that's called the permission. Okay, so anytime from now onwards you hear about privilege escalation, it means permission escalation, because in your organization no single particular person is given all the permission in place, right? Permission are given based upon the job roles we have in place. Based upon that you are given the permission, right? So okay, so now what is going to happen is that Mary is not happy with the permission given to her, and she's now inside a threat. She want to hack into systems. So first target would be this particular administrator, who is would be his respective boss. And now what is going to happen is that Mary will be performing something which is called vertical privilege escalation. Let's say, for example, there are two servers inside an organization. How many servers? Two respective servers inside an organization. Perfect. Now what interesting thing happen here is this: Mary is only provided access to this particular server in place, right? But for second server, she is not. She want to hack into the second server, right? So what she do is that she hack into this particular administrator or try to gap into this particular privileges of this administrator. That is called vertical privilege escalation. If you try to get more privileges, more permission that are provided to you, that is something which is called by the name of privilege escalation. Okay, and then comes another kind of escalation which is called by the name of horizontal privilege escalation. In the horizontal privilege escalation, what is going to happen is that Mary is trying to hack into his particular colleague system, right? Who is the Peter, and she is trying his best to hack into the Peter system in place. Fine. That is called the horizontal privilege escalation. Fine. Both Mary and the Peter are mostly in the same department and enjoying the same permission, but she want to look what kind of thing this particular Peter is up to, right? She want to see that which kind of credentials, which kind of client he is dealing with. That's what happens with the, that's why he's hacking into the Peter system. That is called the horizontal privilege escalation. Okay, perfect. Okay.